The beeping woke me first, then the pain. Everything hurt. My head, my ribs, my left arm. I tried to open my eyes, but the fluorescent light stabbed through my skull. I groaned. "Emma? Baby, can you hear me?" A man's face appeared above mine. Dark hair, brown eyes creased with worry, stubble shadowing his jaw. He looked familiar, but distantly, like someone from a half-forgotten dream. Who? My throat felt like sandpaper. "It's Ryan, your boyfriend." His hand found mine, warm and tight. "You were in a car accident. You've been unconscious for 2 days." Boyfriend. I searched his face, waiting for recognition, for love, for something. Nothing came, just blank, terrifying emptiness. "I don't remember you," I whispered. The panic in his eyes looked genuine. "The doctor said this might happen. Memory loss from the head trauma. But it's temporary, okay? I'll help you remember everything." Except it wasn't temporary. Dr. Martinez confirmed it the next morning. Retrograde amnesia, possibly permanent. I could remember my childhood, high school, my college graduation, but the last 3 years? Gone. Erased. "Will they come back?" I asked. She hesitated. "Sometimes, sometimes not. The brain is unpredictable." Ryan never left my side. He brought tulips, my favorite, he said. He told me stories about us, painting a perfect love story. How we'd met at a coffee shop when I spilled my latte on his laptop. How I'd moved in with him 8 months earlier. How we were talking about engagement. I wanted to feel something, anything. But this stranger who loved me felt like exactly that, a stranger. 2 weeks later, he brought me home to his apartment. Our apartment, he corrected. I walked through the door and froze. Everything was sleek, modern, sterile. Black leather furniture, chrome fixtures, bare white walls. Not a photo, not a plant, not a single personal touch anywhere. Where are my things? I turned a slow circle, feeling wrong in my own skin. "This is your style. You loved how minimalist I kept everything. You said clutter made you anxious. But looking at this cold space, I felt a deep wrongness I couldn't name. Every instinct screamed that I was someone who loved warmth, color, life. What about photos? Of us? Of my friends? You weren't big on physical photos. Everything's digital." He showed me pictures on his phone. We looked happy, but the woman smiling in those images felt like a stranger. The small wrongnesses started immediately. Ryan said I hated Chinese food, but when we passed a restaurant, my mouth watered with recognition. He claimed I was allergic to cats, but when I saw one, I felt a pang of longing. He told me I'd quit teaching before the accident because I was burned out. "You wanted to take time to figure out what you really wanted. We could afford it on my salary." Teaching. The word resonated somewhere deep, but I couldn't grasp why. I found the first crack on a Tuesday. Ryan was at work. I was unpacking boxes he said contained my things. Clothes I'd never wear, books I had no interest in. Then I found a shoebox in the back of the closet. Inside were photographs, real, physical ones. There I was, younger, laughing. Arms around a blonde woman. We wore graduation caps, faces bright with joy. I flipped it over. In handwriting I recognized as my own. "Sarah and me, best friends forever." My hands trembled. I found more. Me with Sarah at concerts, beaches, birthday parties. Me surrounded by friends. Me in a classroom full of kids, looking radiantly happy. This was my life. I could feel it. "What are you doing?" I jumped. Ryan stood in the doorway, home early, his expression dark. "Who's Sarah?" I held up the photo. "If she's my best friend, why hasn't she visited?" His jaw tightened. "You had a falling out a year ago. She disapproved of our relationship, said terrible things, tried to turn you against me. You told me you never wanted to see her again." "What things?" "I don't want to upset you while you're recovering. Stress could slow your healing." But that night, after he fell asleep, I opened his laptop. He'd given me the password, said I could use it anytime. I searched for my email. The inbox was almost empty. A few newsletters, appointment confirmations, nothing personal. The sent folder, the trash, everything deleted. I tried logging into social media. Every password was wrong. When I tried to reset them, the security questions felt foreign. The backup emails weren't addresses I recognized. Someone had locked me out of my own digital life. Ice spread through my veins. The next morning, after Ryan left, I tore through the apartment. I found a teaching award from 6 months ago, contradicting his story that I'd quit. Prescription bottles for anxiety medication I didn't remember taking. Then, hidden in the bathroom cabinet, a journal. My journal. The last entry was dated 2 days before my accident. I have to leave. I see it now. Ryan has isolated me from everyone. Sarah, my friends, my family. He monitors everything. He convinced me to quit teaching, the one thing that made me happy. He controls our money, our life, everything. I'm scared, but I can't live like this. Tomorrow, I'm packing a bag and going to Sarah's. I'm getting my life back. Tomorrow, the day of my accident, the day my brakes had mysteriously failed. I barely made it to the bathroom before throwing up. I had to find Sarah. The public library had computers. I searched Facebook profiles until I found her. Sarah Morrison, working at an art gallery downtown. My hands shook the entire bus ride there. She was at the desk when I walked in. She looked up and her face went white. "Emma?" Her voice broke. "Oh my God, Emma!" The recognition, the immediate tears, it told me everything. "I've been trying to reach you for months. Ryan blocked me everywhere. I filed a missing persons report, but police said you were fine. I thought I'd lost you. I was in an accident. I lost my memory. I could barely breathe. I found photos and a journal. Sarah, I need the truth." We sat in her office while she unpacked 3 years I couldn't remember. Ryan had become controlling almost immediately, texting constantly, showing up unannounced, isolating me from friends. I tried to leave him twice. The first time, he threatened suicide. The second, I stayed with Sarah for a week before he convinced me to return. The third time, you were finally done. You were coming to my place the morning of the accident. She showed me the police report. My car had crashed 3 blocks from her apartment, brake failure. But my car had been serviced 3 days before by Ryan, who worked as a mechanic. "I can't prove he tampered with it," she said quietly, "but the timing, my world tilted. He's been lying about everything. My personality, my job, my friends. He's been rewriting who I was. He's been doing it for years. The memory loss just made it easier." Sarah helped me see a lawyer. We documented everything, the journal, the photos, the deleted accounts. I had savings Ryan had hidden from me. My teaching job was still mine. My principal had never received a resignation. But I had to go back one more time for my documents. Sarah waited outside while I packed. I was almost done when Ryan's key turned in the lock. He saw the bag, the open drawer, and went very still. "What are you doing?" "I'm leaving." I tried to keep my voice steady. "I know the truth. I found my journal. I talked to Sarah." His expression shifted. Surprise, anger, calculation. Then he smiled, and terror shot through me. "You're confused, sweetheart. The accident damaged your brain. You're having false memories, paranoid delusions. I know what you did, how you isolated me, controlled me, how I was leaving you the day of the accident." "You were coming back from the grocery store? 3 blocks from Sarah's apartment? The opposite direction from any store?" His mask cracked. "You don't know what you're talking about." I grabbed my bag and moved toward the door, his hand clamped around my wrist, hard enough to bruise. "You're not leaving. I've spent 3 years molding you into exactly what I wanted. You're mine, Emma." I screamed. The door burst open. Sarah stood there, phone recording. "Let him go or I'm calling the police with this video and everything else we've documented." He released me. I ran. 6 months later, I stood in my new apartment. Small, but mine. Plants crowded the windows. Photos covered the walls. Books overflowed the shelves. Sarah helped me hang the last picture, a recent photo of us making new memories. "You okay?" she asked. I looked around my colorful, chaotic, beautiful space and felt peace. "Yeah, I really am." My phone buzzed. A fellow teacher asking about coffee. New friends, new connections, new threads in the life I was weaving. I couldn't remember who I'd been. The old Emma was lost forever, a ghost I'd never fully know. But I knew exactly who I was now. Someone who'd survived, who'd escaped, who'd chosen truth over comfortable lies, someone who'd learned that memories might define the past, but choices define the future. I texted back, "Coffee sounds perfect." Outside my window, the city stretched in all directions, full of possibilities, full of a future that belonged entirely to me, not to a man who'd tried to own me, not to a past I couldn't remember, just to me. And that was enough. It was everything.